Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Lab Rats Entertainment Podcast. Welcome to 2020.
Woo!
It's kind of crazy.
Whole new decade.
It's apparently the year of the rat.
Yeah.
Is it?
In Chinese, right?
Chinese, yeah. So
I want to make sure I didn't
So
screw that up.
it is literally our year.
It's literally
Nothing can stop us now.
Well, technically, I already misstated my paper earlier, so we're already off to a great start.
I'm just glad I didn't do that at the bank.
So we had a big break. We saw a lot of stuff.
Played
A
lot
little
of stuff.
movie called Star Wars came out. We're not talking about Star Wars this week, except for one exception, which we'll get to later. So next week, I know we promised that we would return with Star Wars, but we have a guest who wants to come on and
who's
talk
very
about.
passionate about.
He's very passionate about Star Wars. Has a Kylo Ren tattoo, or the lightsaber of Kylo Ren as a tattoo.
The name
and
of her car is Kylo Ren's starred her spaceship. I forget that.
Yeah.
It's
whatever
it's
the
silent-
spaceship,
Yeah.
whatever kind of spaceship.
It has,
she has.
It's like
Or
a
he
cool
has.
It's a
name.
TIE Interceptor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or is
It might be.
It's a TIE something.
Tie X,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
that
TIE
is.
Interceptor?
I thought it was an Interceptor, or was that Vader's? I don't know. We're
we'll
already
ask-
getting
we'll
off
ask-
We'll ask her to go through her Star Wars sort of collection.
Yeah.
We should
when
probably
that
confirm that.
Yeah,
We're probably-
as soon as we see it.
We probably just made a bunch of Star Wars fans angry just by us being like...
Slamming at the keyboard. Yeah.
So we're saving that for next week
Mm-hmm.
in a sort of big quote unquote state of Star Wars discussion.
It's gonna be heated. It's gonna be
Okay.
Another thing I would like to get to at some point is a sort of favorites of the 2010s, which is a big thing to consider, but we will try to get to that at some point. But right now, we had a big break and we saw a lot of stuff. We played a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff happened. We're not going to go through news right now. My theory on this is if you cared enough, you already heard the news. So
And if we covered everything from the last several weeks, this entire episode would just be new.
even
Yeah.
like the last 2 weeks alone would just be a whole episode's worth of
yeah.
news. So we're gonna skip that this week. We're basically like this Tuesday on is where news starts for us, basically. So anything before, what is it, January 29th? 28th, is void. We won't talk about it.
Unless it relates to a topic we're talking about.
Yes. We'll mention stuff, but yeah. So the way that I'm going to go about this is, as I described it to them, topic by topic and person by person. So we'll start with movies. I'll go around at random. I already have in mind who I'm going to start with. And just waiting in anticipation. And we'll get what movies that person watched. They can have sort of as much or as little time dedicated to each movie. And then we will also be eliminating things as we go on. So like if somebody... I think most of us saw Knives Out, so if somebody brings Knives Out to the discussion, all of us will join in that discussion and they don't have to talk about Knives Out during their little segment.
We should also clarify that almost every single thing we talk about will contain spoilers.
Yes.
Yes.
Full spoilers for everything we talk about. So.
Was there any exceptions to that? I don't think there's any.
Maybe Knives Out?
I already know what happened.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right.
Sawyer already knows what happens in Knives Out. If you really care about what happens in Knives Out, which you should, it's a whodunit, maybe don't listen to the Knives Out discussion.
I will say I will not spoil one particular show for Ahmad because I know you only made it 3 episodes in, so I won't spoil that for you.
There's a bunch of like, if we haven't watched it and we care about spoilers, don't spoil it in the room.
Right,
But I don't care about Watchmen spoilers or whatever. So
You spoiled the spoiler. You spoiled we were going to talk about what? Okay, that's a whole thing.
Uh-oh.
Spoiled our own podcast.
This is the year
that,
of the
that
rat.
got that got way too meta, way too quickly.
His eyes. When he realized it was hysterical.
I can't believe I do a podcast with you people.
Season 4.
Season 4 or 5. I don't even know what season we're on anymore.
It's season 4. We've been doing. This is the 4th semester we've been doing this.
That's true. This is the 4th semester I've been here, so that makes sense.
The summer episodes are an interlude.
Yeah, I think I included them in season 2 or 3.
Probably, so with that, I'm going to start with Caleb.
Dun, dun.
What are we doing? Movies?
Movies.
Okay. Well, first off, I think this is, well, you know how like I talked about with my top 10s before we left, and I was like my top 2 were Endgame and Booksmart.
Yeah.
And while I really love Booksmart, there was one movie that trumped Booksmart.
I think I know what it is.
This winter that I saw, and it was definitely, without a doubt, 1917.
Oh, okay, yeah. I
loved 1917. It was one of my favorite war films, mainly because it treats itself as a different type of war film.
Right. Yeah.
Sawyer, you haven't seen it.
I am not. I really want to.
Okay.
I just didn't get a chance of break to see it.
And you haven't.
I haven't seen it. I don't. My thing about not seeing it is I'm not interested. It's that I think I've told you this.
Right. Yeah.
I can't watch one-shot, long-take films in a theater. It stresses me out way too much.
Right.
It's not even like an I'm scared of it thing. It's like
it's just stress.
It's really exhausting.
I will say, actually, that's kind of the reason why I really like it. It's very immersive. You feel like you're definitely a third person.
Right.
In this mission. This one I won't go into spoilers that much about, so I might not talk that much about it. But it's just Roger Deakins kills it. This is actually, I think, my first film that I've seen Roger Deakins do.
Oh, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at the things he's photographed. But I think I have a lot to say about 1917 as well, and I think if I were to amend my top 10, I think it would be on there.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to cut you off or where you were going.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's like you mentioned, it's very immersive, and the whole gimmick is it's conceived to be one take.
Right.
At least that's what it says in this.
It's kind of
script.
Faked to be one take based on how I've heard.
But really, it's pieced together in 7 to 8 minute long takes, and there are cuts there, CGI cuts or cuts where they kind of cut into the dark. Yeah. They come back.
Clearly, this was edited, but
right. Of course, right. I mean, but I feel like the fact that there are that they've achieved such an astonishing feat, I think there's something to be said about that.
Yeah.
I'm taking a war film class, and the first thing I talked about, or the first thing we discussed was 1917. And there's another film apparently by Stanley Kubrick called Pain and Glory, one of his earlier films, and it's also very similar.
Oh, okay.
The professor mentioned it, and it's also kind of like long takes through Death Valley, No Man's Land, and,
right.
These kind of like takes that take you along with the story. And it was funny because he was like, people are talking about 1917, but there's this like 1950s movie by Stanley Kubrick that's similar in a lot of ways. Anyway, I think Roger Deakins deserves a back-to-back Oscar.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is, although this year is tough for cinematography, it's tough in general at the Oscars for a lot of what's being. I mean, take a look at any of the Best Picture nominations, and I think some of them. I mean, I would not be mad if any of those, if any of those films got a Best Picture nomination, I wouldn't be mad.
Unlike 2019's Oscars, right? Like
right. The ones from last year, there were some ones that I wasn't as jazzed about,
which is good.
Right. But I was going to mention, Caleb, I don't mean to take this.
Oh
this
no,
time
go
from
ahead.
you, but I was going to say it's insane the amount of the preparation they took to actually execute this. There's this one shot where Roger Deakins lights the scene with flares. Oh. And I saw something on behind the scenes of this. So
so good.
It's really good, and he deserves an Oscar for that scene alone.
Yeah.
But so they made like miniature models of like the set and like the long takes that they would have to construct and stuff. And for this this scene that was just lit by flares, apparently they had like there's a small flashlight, and like they mapped out the trajectory of where the flares would kind of the route they would take, so just to see where the shadows would fall and like the light to where it would, because of course you need to know where the light's falling, or else you want to know where if you don't know where the flare is gonna hit, you need to know where the shadows are falling and where the light's falling.
Right.
So it just for that, just the amount of the intricate preparation they took for it is mind-boggling. That's kind of all.
How historically accurate is the film?
I have no clue.
So it's Sam Mendes' grandfather was somebody, was a veteran, was a World War One who fought in World War One, and it's the story itself is not true, but I think it's pieced together by stories from his grandpa or his grandfather. So it's based on like smaller stories, kind of like in honor of his grandfather.
That's pretty great.
And that's what's really nice about this film is that it's not. It's a small story. Like we don't get like these, like this is like taking place in one big grand battle, and they're at it the whole entire time, and it's there's no like Saving Private Ryan sequence.
Exactly.
I think in 1917 is it's a Best Picture film.
No,
if what you're looking for in a Best Picture film, so you want to see great editing, great sound design, great cinematography, writing, directing, and acting.
Right.
That was 1917. From what I've seen so far of the Best Picture nominees, I have not seen Parasite yet. I'm going to try to see it next week.
Parasite's the one I'm rooting for, of course. If you listen to the podcast,
right?
You would know.
So I haven't seen that, but to me, this one screams a Best Picture film.
No,
the only problem I have with the film is the acting.
Okay.
Not so necessarily that the acting's bad. It's just it's not. Their performances are good, but
it's not there. I would agree. One thing I liked about it was these two main characters are people who are practically unknown. They're not really known for they're not these big name actors. But the parts where you had big name actors like Benedict Cumberbatch and like other actors who were more well known, those parts were kind of really effective, I think, and I like those parts a lot. But of course, the two main actors, I had a hard time like getting behind their kind of behind their acting, and also really feeling for them a little bit. But that's really just being nitpicky at this point.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It is very much a Best Picture, like a caliber film. So I would recommend you. I know Azri just mentioned that, but
it's really just a personal.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's of course, right,
perfectly understandable.
And like, there's a lot of films. I mean, the same. I don't. There's a couple movies I won't rewatch. I refuse to rewatch because of the experience I had watching it. And these films are really good, and I acknowledge that they're good, but it's just like a ride to have to watch again.
That was me with Hereditary. I'm not watching that again. I had such a visceral experience.
I'm particularly like that with mostly every horror film.
You mentioned sound design in this, and from watching the trailer, the trailer played for a couple of movies that I saw in theaters, and those guns just pop in that trailer. Like the sound design in that, and
it's every time you hear a gunshot, you jump. But like, I was talking to somebody. Shout out to Jillian Riley if you're listening to this. But she mentioned something interesting. She said she watched the movie, and she said if they took the score and the music out and just had it be just silent, or other than like the diegetic sound within the scene. Have it be just no music. Although I thought that was an interesting idea, just because you've never really seen that, where it's just very kind of realistic, or just kind of just no music or sound. It's just the gunshots and the sound you hear in the scene. Although I love the score. I think the score and the music really worked well. The score especially, I think, deserves. I don't know if it got a nomination, but.
I know okay, yeah, I don't know, because I ranked it as one of my favorite scores of this year, next to Joker and Endgame, which got snubbed, but it's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine. John Williams, I get it. Last
Star Wars movie,
Robert Downey didn't get anything.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, I love Robert Downey Jr., but like, come on.
That was a long shot.
With all the other people.
With everything else in 2019.
Yeah. But I will say, Endgame's score is very unique, and I think it's so widely known compared to like most scores. Like people can even. You mentioned Portals. People know what you're talking about, or maybe even Main on End.
Right.
Those Infinity War, but Porch was one that I always knew.
Right, Porch is always a good one too. Yeah.
It's like the default like Thanos theme.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Caleb, any other movies that you watched?
So we're doing person by person.
Okay. Yeah. Person by person.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then
I've been knocking all this out.
So we're not talking about 1917 again.
We're not. And I'm sorry about having a longer discussion about that.
Now I'm going to have to check my list because I wasn't prepared for this. I think I know what I will talk about, but I just want to look at my list real quick, see if there's not...
It's interesting to me while you're looking that up on 1917 that they took such a global war and they
bring it down to two.
They brought it down to just two people.
Yeah,
it's really interesting that it's not like usually when you think World War I, you would think this like massive global conflict and then it's focused on two guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'm at a toss up.
I mean, you're going to be talking about both
either
way.
I saw the other one with you, I'm sure.
Yeah, see, he knows what I'm about to... Yeah. Okay, we'll do it. Let's do I want to talk about Uncut Gems.
I saw this as well.
This was...
I did not see
Ezra, you need to see this movie.
This was a surprise for me. I'm not going to lie.
Do you mind spoilers on this movie? Because I have something to say.
Do spoilers matter for the experience of this movie?
I would argue... Not really,
because
I would say
as the end is what you're gonna spoil, right? There.
Well, but okay. if you'd rather I don't, I can still just as easily talk about it.
Do you like Adam Sandler?
What?
Do you like Adam Sandler?
Not particularly.
Then you'll love him in this film.
This movie. Yeah.
That's my tagline.
Is this a movie where I'm not supposed to like the main character?
Happy Gilmore goes.
Okay, we'll get into that. Okay.
Happy Gilmore goes gambling. That's exactly.
Did you want to start, Caleb, on Uncut Gems?
Sure. Yeah, I'll talk. This movie. I knew going into it. That Adam Sandler does a dramatic performance, and that's basically all I knew about this movie going into it. I literally watched 0 trailers, and I was like, was it? Well, Ahmad and I saw it. I think it was just more on a sense of like, I want to see this movie, and you had already seen it.
I already saw it again. And I saw it, and that night I saw it again.
Yeah, it caught me off guard. So I had no idea what this movie was about, and I'm actually really glad because I don't know what the trailers would have shown. And this movie is very, it's a movie not for everyone.
No,
not for everyone.
It's definitely not for everyone. I know my grandpa really didn't like the movie, but
mine didn't either.
They were.
But I think I really liked it. The only problem is the movie in the middle is a little slow for me. There's not much stuff going on, but like there's a moment in this film where it's like, you're just thinking to yourself, what are you doing? And from that moment, it just instantly becomes unpredictable. It's such a
movie
ride.
You don't know how it's going to end.
Right.
Like, you're watching this and like, how do they wrap this up?
Right.
And they wrap it up all right.
Yeah, they do. I will say, like, and I don't want to, like, commandeer things here, but, like, it's...
Go ahead.
I will say that I first thought when I watched this movie, it's a strange but effective opening title sequence.
Yeah.
Like, I was not expecting it to be... Like, it's like this very, like, synthy noir almost opening with, like, them going through like it almost looks like a nebula. It's obviously like a gem, but like my grandpa leaned over to me. He's like, "Are we in the right movie?" I'm like, it didn't look right at all.
I was genuinely like, "Wait, this is what this is about."
And of course, they when you realize where you are, you're just like,
for somebody who just walked in, they start with that. I'm like,
But so. I'm familiar. Are any of you familiar with Safdie brothers' work? Good Time.
I haven't watched.
I watched that.
You have seen Good Time.
I tend to reference that a lot.
Okay, actually. Yeah, Good Time. I saw Good Time before I saw this film for the first time, and the Safdie brothers are filmmakers who I'm really excited to see what they make next, especially after Uncut Gems. And Good Time specifically seemed like it had such a unique voice to what their what their approach is. And for instance, you just mentioned the 80s synth opening. There's the title sequence of
it. Might as well be oppressive in
Good
Time. The soundtrack of Good Time is just that.
Yeah, right. And I saw Good Time, and it's Robert Pattinson's in that movie, and he transforms completely. And Adam Sandler's in Uncut Gems, and he also transforms.
I wonder if this is kind of a directorial thing. Like they're basically just like that good at getting their actors to do something that it just brings out this epic performance.
A Safdie brothers Nicolas Cage movie?
Oh, that would be insane.
That would be insanely wild.
You gotta contact them right now. Let's go. No, but I was gonna say we just mentioned 1917. That was a tense movie, but boy, is this movie tense.
Oh yeah,
I was gonna say Uncut Gems.
This movie deserves the editing.
I agree. And nice. There are a lot of instances that that I think worked really well with the editing, particularly of the there was this sequence where they I have to remember it's near the end. I have to remember, I saw it twice, but I have to remember what I'm talking about. But I was gonna say it's a ride, but like it's the arguments that are going on. You're constantly being like kind of like bombarded by these these voices that are just arguing and shouting.
The argument between the main character and his brother-in-law, I believe it was, in the car when they're coming from the daughters, or I think it's
the theater,
the high school theater or something.
Right,
is such a tense argument.
Right,
Adam Sandler, you can genuinely see like the fear. And everybody's shouting over each other, and it's so tense.
It feels so natural too at the same time.
It feels real
because people. Like when people are shouting, they're shouting over people.
Right.
It's not like that Hollywood type argument where
you stop to pause to hear the other person.
Right.
Like it's just them shouting over each other and not listening, and you focus on Adam Sandler. I'm just gonna call him Adam Sandler. I'm not gonna call him the character.
Right. I forget the name.
Howard Ratner.
Howard Ratner.
That might as well be like just Adam Sandler, but not Adam Sandler.
I think it was. What kind of amazed me, just a couple highlights, were I thought Kevin Garnett, the basketball player, he plays himself in the film. I was surprised with how good he actually was.
He did quite good. I agree. I think that with all some of the other actors they had who aren't traditionally actors, they all did really good, surprisingly.
Julia Fox
this is her first feature length film, isn't it? She did. I was really surprised. She was good. In this movie.
Wow. She should have gotten a
nomination?
Supporting actress nomination?
She didn't get one, I don't think.
She should have.
But Lakeith Stanfield is somebody who
he was great.
He was great. I think. I mean, Lakeith Stanfield was in this, and he was also in another film this year.
Sorry to Bother you?
That was
2018.
the previous year. God, why am I forgetting it? It was really good. Anyway. Lakeith Stanfield, but also The Weeknd has a cameo in this, which is his scene is funny.
Honestly, the scene with The Weeknd, that whole thing at his show, is the only scene in the movie that I didn't like.
Right.
Really?
Right.
I was like, they could have cut that out completely, and I would have been completely fine with it.
Right. I was gonna say the
it's not bad. It's not his fault.
Right.
I just think the overall scene didn't really add much other than, I guess, giving more for the effect of it works, but focusing on the concert for so long, and I think really the only thing in it that really needed was the adding to the relationship tension that Howard had. But focusing on we're gonna have her go back into the party and The Weeknd being upset, it doesn't matter to the story.
Right. But okay, so Adam Sandler is he's traditionally a comedic actor. But when he does drama and when he does it right, like in this film, it works. you can't help but feel sorry for him because like you want to be annoyed at him, but he's Adam Sandler. You can't be annoyed at Adam Sandler's just like this kind of lovable person.
Like
or you're naturally annoyed.
Or you're naturally annoyed. Okay, yeah. But have always been on the Adam Sandler hype train. Okay. Disregarding Happy Gilmore and the rest. I mean, pretty much all of his films. But like
I liked his films his pre-Click.
Yeah.
Everything post-Click I have not liked.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Except for Uncut Gems. Really.
Yeah.
I would say.
There's another film he's in.
I shouldn't say everything, but a majority of pre-Click.
He's in a movie called Funny People with Seth Rogen, and it's a really, really interesting look at comedians' lives. And
I heard that was good, and I heard there's some movie it was like really lower budget that came out that I heard he was good in, but I didn't see it.
Right.
The Cobbler, I think.
The Cobbler got
the Cobbler was horrible.
I don't know. I never saw it, so I wouldn't know.
It's a much smaller film. I haven't watched it, but it's I think he's even like a bit part. I don't think he's the main character.
For me, it was what came out before, Jack and Jill or Grown Ups 2?
Who knows? I mean,
that's a 1-2 punch.
It was a 1-2 punch. I think they came out back to back. One of those films is where Adam Sandler lost me personally, but
somehow I know
Ridiculous Six. I have no idea. I don't know.
Anyone was
that one ain't good either.
13, I think, only because I saw the Wolverine, and then my family wanted to see Grown Ups 2 afterwards. So I saw the Wolverine and Grown Ups 2 back to back.
I think Wolverine was. Okay, I don't know what you think about it.
I like the Wolverine.
I like the Wolverine.
I don't hate the Wolverine. But let's
okay, so just to, I was going to say, you can't help but feel sorry for him because on the one hand he's making these absolutely, horrific decisions that keep you slapping your head or your forehead and just like, what is he doing?
Right.
But then, he kind of, moments where you think he might redeem himself or think he's gotten out of it, he goes right back around and puts himself back in. Mm-hmm. And every time, it's tense because the entire time you're just like, this dude has it coming. There's something.
He's on thin ice.
He's on thin ice and he keeps pushing it, he keeps prodding people. And we were mentioning the editing, and I think the editing at the last scene was very powerful. Without getting too much into it, I don't want to spoil it, but I thought that it worked effectively to reach that kind of like that tension until the moment actually happens, and it's just a release, and it's just of unbelief. So it's like you said, I think I don't know if it got nominated for editing, but like I think it just really works well to build that tension that you need, and it doesn't let you go. It doesn't let you go at all.
That last sequence is all the close-ups that they use.
Right.
There's one, I don't want to say like a henchman, but like, because that makes it seem like a Batman villain. But like, there's one of the guys who works for a mob boss at the end, without giving too much away, and let's just say they're locked in a room, and the camera just holds on this guy's face for a couple shots, and you can see the anger starting to boil in him, and it's just you almost no dialogue from him really at all. You can start to see it boil, and Adam Sandler is like he's pushing, and you're just like, this is not gonna end well.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
I thought that was great, and I thought really my only complaint with the film was I thought that some of the stuff at the weekend was out of place.
And that was actually more towards the middle of the film where I was like, it's a little slow.
I love the scene with Garnett when he comes to his office to officially buy it, and that conversation they have of like hyping him up.
Yeah, that's where the film.
Adam Sandler like persuades himself to buy or persuades Garnett, he inspires Garnett to like go all out, but he persuades himself to you know what, I think actually this is worth putting.
That whole scene, like that, when I say like Garnett was great, it's that last scene that really sold me. He was great.
But I was gonna say last comment. God, I'm so sorry.
This movie is really good.
It's really good. Close-ups, good time, and Uncut Gems really utilized close-ups in a very
good time way. Is just like a close-up.
Yeah, it's just literally close-up. It's just like I don't know where I am, but I love what I'm seeing. It's just.
I will say, don't go into this movie if you're offended by language, because there is a lot in this movie.
Yes. And I think that's where my grandpa didn't like as much, but
this is definitely a movie that's for mature audiences.
Even for me, it was like
no, there was some stuff where I was like, I mean, I wasn't like grossed out by it. I was just like, it makes you uncomfortable.
There was even like I saw the other day a clip of it, and it was the one moment where I was like, ugh. No. And then, of course, it's the one clip I see later on.
Is it when he's in the cab?
No,
because that was like, ugh.
Oh no, I think he's talking about when he's in the closet texting. No, I mean it could be all
no.
That can be interpreted differently. That's not what we mean.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying.
There's many moments in this film.
I don't know. I actually don't know what I got myself into, but I was gonna say. Knives Out is what Lakeith Stanfield was also in this year. He was also really good in that. He played a detective.
That's a good segue into that film.
Yeah. All right. Was that the next film you wanted to talk about?
What were we talking about?
Knives Out.
No. Okay.
Well, just accidentally loses track of the conversation.
Yeah.
Nice.
I just try.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about Uncut Gems?
Nope.
Okay.
That everything pretty much was covered. Great film. Go see it. It's still in theaters, I believe, but it's also worth the rent. But don't show it to your children. There you go.
It's not. I'm saying the movie. Let's get to watch it, family.
There are actually some kids at this, surprisingly enough.
There's kids at every movie that they should be at.
Like
I remember I went to go see Deadpool, and there was way too many kids.
Oh god, yeah. Let's go see.
Let's see Deadpool when you're 8 years old.
Nice. Yeah.
Anyway,
so Knives
Out.
Knives Out. We're moving along.
Sawyer has not seen it.
Oh, God,
I would like to. It's not a Rian Johnson thing. It's not the reason why.
Okay, because I know there are people who haven't seen this film specifically because Rian Johnson directed it.
Which is a mistake.
It's a mistake. I feel sorry for people. For Paul, if you're listening to this, you know who you are. You got to watch it.
I will say,
dang it, Paul.
I am critical on the way he handled the response to that film.
Yeah.
But I'm not. This is not the reason why I just haven't had the chance.
No,
to see it
you're good. Yeah.
But I will say, I really enjoyed Looper. Is the only other film besides The Last Jedi that I've seen.
Yeah.
And I thought he was able to get actually a good performance out of Bruce Willis, which is rare now.
Yeah.
So it was.
Yeah.
I think it was. Oh, I'm not talking about Looper, but really, yeah. I just want to clarify. It's not a anti-Rian Johnson train. I just haven't had a chance to see it.
Knives Out is a very witty, smart written script,
and very, very, very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
You mentioned I can't remember the last time I've seen a whodunit. The last time I've seen a whodunit that's really good. Yeah. I mean, the last time I remember whodunit came out was Murder on the Orient Express, I think.
Right.
Came out
that was the same. Yeah.
It's like a Michael
They're making a
Fassbender
sequel.
movie, right?
They're making a sequel. It's not.
Kenneth Branagh was in that, wasn't
Yep.
he?
Yeah. But that one wasn't good. I saw like the first 30 minutes and I was like, no, I've had enough.
Oh, really?
And that's like really bad for whodunit because you have to, right.
Yeah, you gotta hook people.
You have to have people. Right.
The one thing I will say structurally about this movie is I think they faked us out a little too soon.
Really?
Yeah, I think the whole thing where you think you know who it was for how long we thought we knew who it was just a little too long.
I thought that was out.
I thought that was great.
No, one more scene before we knew that information would have been enough for me to not have a problem with it.
I guess I understand exactly. I understand where you're coming from because usually that's typically not how it's done. But I thought that was a strong point because it takes you into this one direction, and you think it's kind of going this way, or you kind of begin to suspect this one thing from happening. I mean, there was I can't. Okay.
Well, for me,
Well,
for me, when that original thing happens, I'm like, oh, this isn't a whodunit. That's just how it was advertised.
Right.
Yeah.
And now we're in this new sort of film.
Which it kind of did fulfill on that promise.
Right.
But you were saying.
For me, it established the characters early on, and you begin to suspect things to go like the way they're supposed to go. And then it does a complete 180, and the things that you thought, the things that the situations you thought were the reason behind this murder turned out to be completely opposite and not as what they were intended. I can't get so involved into it.
It's just like a different it's more of like a perspective shifting technique that Ryan the writing in this movie is top notch. And I think Rian Johnson's script, he wrote the script.
Right.
But
I'm not this isn't a spoiler, but the scene where Daniel Craig explains explains the mystery with the donut hole. The
It's
donut.
so good.
This is like so out of context for you,
I
but
was like, what is that? Is that
Daniel,
code? Like, what does that mean?
It's not
Daniel
code.
Craig
Daniel
cracks
Craig
the code.
is amazing in this movie.
yeah,
I finally found the donut hole, but there was another donut hole inside the donut hole.
One of I love every scene that he was in this movie was amazing.
Yeah.
I love the accent he put on.
Oh yeah, great
I thought that one of my favorite performances of last year.
The
Yeah,
accent is the best the best accent that you cannot imitate at all. It's impossible to imitate that accent.
Oh yeah.
so I think you would particularly like this film. I think that because I mean the cast, the ensemble of people they have here.
Oh my god!
It's a strong cast. Chris Evans is awesome. Once you get past the sweater, big sweater.
I forgive the sweater.
No, I forgive the sweater too.
His teacher vest.
Yeah, his teacher. No, I was gonna say this is a right move for him right off of Captain America.
Yeah.
I think it's different.
I like
because of who you're used to him playing. I think it's very smart.
They play on that too.
Yeah.
He there's a scene in the movie where Chris Evans is basically just playing Steve Rogers, and then later on, you get just a whole different side.
A whole different side of it, and it's a funny. It's the scene where he's sitting with his family, and he's a completely different person.
So good,
and it's fun to see Chris Evans do something different.
They played it up in the trailer.
Yeah. Well, you should.
I will say I was expecting more. I wasn't necessarily expecting. Sawyer knows who did it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Wait a second. I guess I could spoil it then. Do you know who?
Chris Evans, right?
Yeah, it was. It was.
I should have said no.
Chris Evans did do it. Spoilers for Knives Out.
Yeah.
But I wasn't necessarily expecting Jamie Lee Curtis to have done it, but I was expecting her to be more featured in the movie, and she's not. She's definitely she's one of the main cast members, but she's in fewer scenes than I would have expected.
How much does Michael Shannon get to do?
That's where I was going to be like. That's who I thought was going who done it.
Each of the well, they also have there's like a drop of blood on one of the characters' shoes, and you suspect that they've done something.
Right.
But which it turns out, of course, you later on you understand what happens. But
right.
The scene, I love Daniel Craig's character because he's this very serious detective, but then he has moments where he's in the car listening to music, and it's just completely and he's just like singing along, and it's completely goofy.
Oh
but
yeah,
I love the versatility of it.
What I liked so much about this movie is how tied to the mystery of who hired Daniel Craig is to the murder. Because I like that that. I like a story that wraps itself up, and there has been talks of a Knives Out 2, but I think ultimately this movie is so self-contained that it doesn't need a sequel, and I would accept a sequel, but it's like Daniel Craig is solving another murder.
So
like
here's
just this extended cast just disappears.
I have an answer for you. So there is a sequel in the making, technically. I think that's what I've heard, but it is going to be with Daniel Craig's character. It's not going to be the same people, so it's going to be
good,
the detective, which I'm all on board for.
I'm down
because
for the adventures of Daniel Craig.
Detective. He could be the new Sherlock. I mean, I was going to say what was I going to say? I can't remember because I'm excited about talking. No, I was going to say the one person who gets kind of accused. Yeah. You feel really sorry for because you know the truth, and you understand that that this person is going to be. This person is going to be.
So you're starting
I've singled out some people for you.
Well, and one of the nice things that they also do with this movie is that they have a main character. And you're following this character. So the ensemble is not the feature of this movie, it's just this one character. And Daniel Craig is more of like a sidekick.
Yeah, he's definitely the supporting.
Yeah, like he does not take the Batman role, he takes the Robin
And then he comes in at the end and wraps it up nicely.
He
and it's very satisfying. I was gonna say
really good.
This person who gets accused, you're just like, oh man, this person got accused, and then Daniel Craig has this donut hole moment, and then it's very satisfying to hear him explain.
He just realizes the entire plot just comes together in his head, and it all makes perfect sense.
And then it concludes in a satisfactory way.
So my last question I have on this film is I saw a lot of talk online about when Rian Johnson wrote it, what it was truly about. Is this film actually about angry Star Wars fans?
No, it's not.
I heard
at its most basic, it is an eat the rich story.
Okay.
And whether or not you hate that kind of story is up to you, but that's what it is. There's actually a really interesting scene that's basically just a play on I saw this movie with my parents. This is by the
fireplace?
Yeah, this is by the by the fireplace scene, and I saw this movie with my parents, and she told me that it was basically just a movie targeted at Gen Xers, and I think one of the things that exemplifies that is the fireplace scene, and it's not a spoiler, but you basically get they're basically just having a political discussion about immigration.
Oh, so it's it's an anti-Trump type thing.
It's kind of.
Don't be taken don't take that as a negative thing. It's not. It's not like they directly say something that alludes to today.
Yeah. They do. They literally just make contemporary political comments.
Right. But did they ever say the word?
I think they might
it's
mention.
Just that for me when a movie directly references current ongoing politics in its narrative, it takes me out of the film.
Yeah. Well, I will say though, actually,
I was just gonna say it's more the scene itself is more played as a commentary on how family discussions about these matters.
So it's not one-sided. It's two-sided.
Yeah.
It's actually to add a little bit more of character depth to actually somebody.
Yeah.
So
it's sort of not really a deconstruction, but a commentary on the stereotypes we have of each other in these political discussions.
That's good, because I was like, I hope it's not a scene of them just really just looking into the camera and spouting something.
No, it's not. It's not that. It's four-sided, I guess. Ultimately, there are sort of four factions in the family, and they all come from different political backgrounds and stuff. So,
we are almost halfway through. We've covered 3 films.
But that's process of elimination.
What
else?
I'll probably. Well, do you want me to? I have one more.
A film?
Is it Frozen 2?
No.
Okay.
I mean, good movie. But I'm actually gonna
just recently see it.
Yeah.
We never covered that one. I haven't seen it, but we never covered it.
Anyways,
Marriage Story.
Oh,
love that.
So I have not seen this movie. I've seen the clip that's been floating around.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
a lot of memes have come out of that clip.
Yeah, I've seen clips.
Adam Driver kind of kills it.
Is Baby Yoda argument?
They're just arguing over Baby Yoda.
All I've seen from this movie is memes about the argument and memes about how Scarlett Johansson can't dance. Are the only 2 things that I've seen.
Can't dance, huh?
When she's doing that dance.
I haven't seen that.
Okay.
That's actually more for it's meant to be a showing of actually Adam Driver's vision. And his non-realism.
I mean, this is me coming from never seeing it. Just the I've only seen
it. I did amend my top 10, and this got up there. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. So basically, Adam Driver plays a director, and Scarlett Johansson plays an actress.
They're married.
And they're married.
A theater director, yes.
Yes. A theater director, and with giving just a little plot. Going here. From the beginning of the film, you're introduced to them. You could tell, they're already separating from their marriage.
Oh, interesting.
So the story is about how divorce can tear each other apart.
You like how the specter of divorce can do that?
So it's really the process of divorce. So, the film opens up with very very nice. It's a very good
beautiful
opening. It's pretty much you expect you. So it's like what I love about Henry or whatever his Adam Driver's character's name is, and what I love about it's more about it's what I love about Henry, and then Adam Driver says what he loves about Scarlett Johansson's character.
Okay.
And then you're just like, oh, this is nice. It's a pleasant. And then like you realize that they're in like a therapy room. They have to like write down, what they love about each other, and it's more just of something to like remind each other of why they first fell in love. But you realize that they're really, really kind of in a really bad situation, and they don't like each other at all. And like Caleb said, it's really a look at how divorce can completely the process of divorce and all the courts and stuff and all the lawyers can really tear apart a marriage that's already going to split, but it tears it up in like a more negative way. So like for instance, there's a courtroom scene where the lawyers really kind of take shots at the other other side of the other, like Adam Driver's character, and the lawyer for Adam Driver takes a shot at Scarlett Johansson for being bad people, and it tears them kind of apart. I was gonna say it's a really beautiful film. It's really well written. Noah Baumbach is somebody I was actually gonna mention this with some of the films I've seen, but it's Process of Elimination, but it's really naturalistic the way it's written.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you can go ahead.
The acting is it's definitely the greatest I've seen of Adam Driver, and I love everything that Adam Driver's in.
Right.
So he's on
everything.
His performance in every movie I've seen him in is excellent.
Yeah. He's good.
He is good. Not necessarily have to say that movies, but Adam Driver has quickly become one of my favorite actors working today.
Yes. Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson
even
kill
in
it.
like SNL sketches.
There's like the new. I have to say the new Kylo Ren's SNL sketch.
His episode was just amazing. You should just watch the whole episode.
I love that cut in the commercial where it's like, oh, you're the host this week, you're cleaning up, and it cuts to him throwing it into the screen.
He just goes, that's where that belongs.
Adam Driver could get angry. Yeah. No, I mean he does get angry in Marriage Story. So.
Yeah.
He kills it. He continues to astound me in everything I've seen him in. And
he was underrated, but he was really good in Midnight Special as well.
Okay.
He doesn't have a whole lot of scenes, but he was really good.
Okay. All right. That's the one. That's the person you wrote about last semester.
Yeah, I think I told you guys about this film last semester. I mean, that's not really pertinent to right now, but it's Michael Shannon, and he's taking his boy who has special powers across the country.
Oh yeah.
But I was gonna say, so it starts off really nice, and like it's I feel like divorce. It's interesting how divorce is depicted in this film, because usually it's something that in other films it's just something that you really don't get much of a sense of. It happens, and you don't really understand what the process is like, and you just understand that it's a bad thing and that these two people are split. But this really kind of dives into the process in a more realistic way of what would happen, rather than something that's more dramatized. I mean, of course, this is dramatized, but it's in the way that the events occur makes sense, and the argument scene that happens after the courtroom scene where they really get hurt because of the comments of the lawyers. So that happens after the argument happens after, and it's amazing to watch Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. Adam Driver done with Star Wars, and Scarlett Johansson done with Marvel. Having this next step for them is, I think it's the right step, and they deserve the nominations that they've.
Well, Scarlett Johansson may or may not be done with Marvel.
Right.
Oh, she's in Black Widow. I forgot.
Technically, she's got one left.
Yeah, one left.
And we don't know what they're gonna do after.
Right.
Anyway, no theory crafting here.
One thing I will say about this film that I really liked was the fact that, for me, the way I perceived it, it doesn't want you to choose a side.
Interesting.
That's in no means that they're perfect character. Like they're nowhere near perfect.
No, each of them.
They both have their flaws
right.
and they're pretty big flaws for
right.
the conflict.
Right.
But
that argument is literally them
right.
calling each other's flaws out.
Yeah. And I think that's why I love this film so much. It's about that process, rather than, pinning those two together, because you could actually do that quite easily in a film.
Which will have it would be one-sided, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
no, that's I agree with that very.
Both characters could easily have been depicted as a villain,
right?
And it's not that way.
Right.
They're both heroes and villains at the same time.
No, I agree with what you said.
That's another movie where the score was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the score.
I know for a fact that one did get nominated. So if that one wins, I'll love it.
Yeah.
I saw that it was Randy Newman. It's Randy Newman, right?
Yes, it was Randy Newman.
I saw this completely off topic, but this YouTube video about it being Randy Newman, and then it cuts. It was like Randy Newman nominated for Marriage Story. It just plays the Toy Story better than that. And then they put that over the argument scene.
That's amazing. That's perfect. But yeah, Marriage Story is one of my favorite films. Can I say what it's ranked on my top?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's up to fourth place.
Same.
Yeah. So
nice.
It's right under Honey Boy and Lighthouse and Parasite are still up there. But yeah, it got up there. It was 2019 was such a pleasant year, especially near the end, to watch every movie I saw near the end. It seemed like it was just amazing. And
except for Cats,
of course.
You actually saw Cats?
I haven't seen Cats. I missed out.
I don't want to derail this too much, but the funniest thing about Cats is that they literally released a patch 2 days later. That patched in better.
Is it like
and I watched the
game or something?
Yeah, it's like they patched a movie.
It's a day 2 patch of a movie. It's amazing.
Was this movie produced by EA? Like, what is this?
Wow.
You have to pay $10 to watch the rest of this movie.
99 cents to add in Taylor Swift skins.
No! I'm
gonna see how they microtransaction different skins for different characters.
Catwoman skin.
That would unironically, if I was buying my ticket and they told me that for 99 cents I could buy glasses that makes one of the characters into Catwoman, I'd pay 99 cents for that.
Mind.
Pay $2 to turn Ian McKellen into Magneto. Sign me up.
Yeah.
I mean, Ian McKellen
or Gandalf. Can you imagine
part of that movie actually?
Ian McKellen as Gandalf in the rest
Cats.
of the movie?
Oh my god! I'd watch that.
I would watch that immediately.
I would too, unironically. Is there anything else you guys want
to say? That's all for...
Was there another movie you wanted to talk about?
Nope, that's all for my movies.
Okay, Ahmad.
All right, are we moving on to me?
So what movies do you have left?
Okay, I need to... Okay, all right.
I'm sorry.
Would you like me to go to Sawyer
if you want to look while I'm going, you can do that.
I'm going to speed run through mine. But
okay.
I think maybe... mine are going to be similar to... Caleb just... Okay, so... we talked about Noah Baumbach. I saw 2 movies from him. I saw Frances Ha. Saw Frances Ha with his now wife, Greta Gerwig, who stars in it, and she does a really good job. It's easy to fall in love with her character. She's sweet, she's kind, and she's she's awkward. We all are, and I think it's really nice just in the film Frances Ha. There's these awkward scenes, and it's really cool to see Noah Baumbach literally write that out. I'm really inspired by his writing. And then I saw the Meyerowitz Stories, Adam Sandler. And,
that's the one I was thinking of earlier.
Okay,
I said there was another one.
Yeah. Adam Sandler, Dustin Hoffman, and Ben Stiller. 2 comedy actors, Ben Stiller and Adam Driver, and Adam Sandler, and they both pull it off really well. Nice. Really well done. It's a nice heartfelt film, and it's very similar to a lot of his other work. It's naturalistic, it's heartfelt, and it hits a chord with me.
Wait, these are both Noah Baumbach movies?
Yes, Frances Ha.
How many movies did he make this year?
No, these are. So Frances Ha.
I can imagine that though if you put all 3 of these out there.
I was like, Wait a moment. Ryan Johnson waited 2 years to make another movie after
No, Francis Ha, I believe.
This man's the next Shakespeare.
Okay. You just watched these over the break.
Yeah,
Okay,
I watched these over the break because
Cool.
Marriage Story was just so amazing. And I had seen The Squid and the Whale before.
Yeah.
And that was really good.
Okay.
But Francis Ha was like 2013 and Meritz was 2012 and then Meritz was
It's like this guy's working himself to the bone.
yeah, I mean, this is last year was Bomb Back Here. You know, it was
2019 will now be officially dubbed Bomb Back Here.
All right, yeah.
And 2021 will be Keanu Reeves.
Of course, I started off the break. I rewatched all the Star Wars movies in anticipation for the Rise of Skywalker. That's all I'm gonna say. I even rewatched Solo because I was like, I finished episode 3. And I was finished episode 3, and I was like, you know what? This is worth the watch. Rise of Skywalker is gonna be worth the watch, and I'm gonna leave my comments until next week for what I think.
We'll talk about Star Wars movies that we may or may not have rewatched.
Yeah.
I rewatched them all except Solo because that's not canon.
I was like, while we're on the topic of rewatching,
until it becomes relevant, it's not canon.
I rewatched just 7 and 8. You guys may or may not be surprised by some of my opinions shifting slightly on both of those films, but I will save that for next week.
Yeah. I have a feeling that is going to be a running theme next week.
So stay tuned till next week to see to hear
your first preview for next week.
Yeah, to hear whether or not I thought it was worth a while to watch all these movies because it was a long time. It was I could have watched the entirety of Watchmen. Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll hear us talk about all of our excitement for Clone Wars next week.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, that Clone Wars trailer.
Okay, so I rewatched. So I'm not gonna say every movie I rewatched, but I'm gonna mention the ones I specifically rewatched and liked. Rewatched the Dawn of the Planet, the Planet of the Apes movies. Planet of the Apes movies,
good.
And that's a good example of how you should do a trilogy.
Oh my God.
Where there's
firing shots into the future.
I didn't have my shield up.
So this is the first time I had seen the films back to back.
Okay.
Watched Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, then Rise, then War, and it was the
first
first.
way around. Rise.
Rise, Dawn.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I think Dawn is the first. Rise, Dawn, War, and that was the first time I had seen War. And watching them all back to back was a really nice experience because it definitely seemed like they had a clear plan from the. I mean, although they might need, of course, you write as you go, but there was a clear arc for these characters from the beginning to end. And of course,
Which one's your favorite?
That's hard for me to say. I think my favorite one would be, War for the Planet of the Apes was really good. I loved Dawn though. I love Dawn.
Yeah, Dawn's my favorite.
Yeah,
Dawn I think is the most consistently good out of all.
Yeah. Dawn is really good, and I know a lot of people loved War, and I loved War as well. But Rise was. I mean, it was really good, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's not the strongest.
Rise.
I haven't seen War yet, but Rise. I like Rise better.
That's fair.
I
think
Rise
anybody who likes Rise over Dawn wouldn't like War over Rise.
This trilogy of movies, it's just like they outdo the next film. Like the Rise was really good, but Dawn is just on a whole different level, on a whole different scale.
Yeah, it's just like it's a different movie. It's a different director, and it's just a different movie.
Well, and Rise is very much like it's an origin. It's, it's they're like clearly Caesar's and everything, but it's the beginning. Dawn is when it really starts to feel like a Planet of the Apes.
Of the Apes, yeah.
Right.
And Matt Reeves directs. Matt Reeves, I believe. I could look it up, but he's directing
the Batman.
He's directing the Batman, so I'm excited for that.
You know, these movies made me excited for that.
Right. He has worked on these Planet of the Apes movies.
And even if you're like, Planet of the Apes, that cheesy movie from the '60s, these are
different.
These movies, like, honestly, I mean, like, they've made their money back and all that, but they're not, other than like film people, I don't really hear them talked about.
I think these movies were the most unexpected thing that I've liked ever. Yeah. Like when I heard the concept of like a Planet of the Apes kind of thing, I was like, that sounds kind of lame.
Yeah.
But I watched Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and I see like the scene where Draco Malfoy is like just messing with Caesar and stuff. It's all so good.
It's interesting because I saw. So I want to say I saw the original 1960s version. And it's interesting it's interesting how what's the word? They allude to the original one.
Right.
Yeah. They have references in the film from the original.
Yeah. Especially in the first one.
In the first one, especially.
I mean, it kind of lines up slightly. I mean, you have to have some suspension of disbelief.
Right.
And then the person who plays Caesar, who I'm forgetting,
Andy Serkis.
I mean, this was really the first time you hear this kind of argument as for him to be nominated for this motion capture, because he brings Caesar to life in a lot of those scenes and his facial expressions. And I remember there was this whole argument for him being nominated for.
His performance in Dawn and War should have won him at least one Oscar.
Yeah.
And
it's the fact that the Academy won't recognize that. I mean, the fact that this is, I mean, it's CGI, but the CGI is getting put on top of his
right. And he's capable of communicating so many emotions just through. I mean, with one word, or honestly, with just looks, or you can see it in his eyes. You see it in his eyes.
The one thing that I always go back to is when he says, I think it's in Dawn, where he says, "Why don't you just go home?" And he goes, "Go." Where? And I was
there we go.
The way he says that was just...
And like the first time, I remember when I saw Rise for the first time, when you hear him speak, I was blown away. I was like, wait a second. It was just a nice triumphant moment.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the 1960s version. The ending was spoiled for me, but it's still enjoyable to watch.
Everybody, but it's one of those like end of Empire Strikes Back things. Like almost everybody knows the end of the original.
Right. Yeah. So what did I else... I saw Little Women, Greta Gerwig.
Oh. If you get to see it, I really want to see it.
Yeah, really nice movie. Beautifully photographed, beautifully shot. It was the story was really nice. A nice heartfelt story that near the end, it cuts back and forth from present to past. Okay. And when it got to a part of the story, when it got to the point where the present and past were coming close together, or they were getting close to where they are right now.
Okay.
Sorry. So they would cut from past to a past that was like after this past.
It's basically just.
So so
it sounds like the timeline of Memento.
Yeah, essentially. So it's getting closer to the present. This is turning into that scene in the Endgame trying to explain
it's a movie that's catching up with.
So at a certain point they get close to the what I'm trying to say is it blends together, and I had a hard time knowing where in the timeline I was, or whether I was in the past or present.
One of the things I was actually just talking to my friend about this film just before I got here. I was talking to her, and she was actually telling me her review of Little Women, and she said that she wasn't that much of a fan of it because she read the book, and she's seen some
story of all book readers.
Seen some productions of it, and it was because the way the story is told in those versions, it's all linear. So from start to finish.
This was more of like a directorial choice.
It was a directorial choice.
That's interesting because I heard from somebody that it was actually very similar to the book, but not in the way it was told. But
I think it was not in the way it was told.
But
I wouldn't know. I haven't read it.
It'd be interesting to see like a re-edit of this movie. Somebody edit it together.
Right.
But no, Greta Gerwig does a really good job. All the actors, Timothée Chalamet, Saoirse Ronan. Meryl Streep is in this, and they all do really good. Nice. And it's a movie that has nominations. It doesn't. It seems like Greta Gerwig didn't get anything for directing.
Heard about that?
Yeah, it's definitely.
It's not nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah. But it's a tough year. It's a really tough year.
It really is.
But it's unfortunate, and it's really unfortunate that she hasn't.
I think
when you look at the roster for directors, it's just.
I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is very overrated.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it deserved. Okay, this is the answer. But at the Golden Globes, I don't think it deserved. I was surprised at the amount of awards it got. And I don't think Brad Pitt deserved an Oscar, a Golden Globe, or even a nomination for just being high and taking his shirt off.
If you look at Willem Dafoe's
in The Lighthouse, Yeah, and
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci as well. But
honestly, if they were going to nominate Brad Pitt, I think he's more likely. I think he should have gotten nominated for Ad Astra and not for
right. I
agree.
But it's really just about, I mean, the Oscars. I'm really starting to become more aware of the process, and
right.
it's really how much marketing that goes, or how much they market themselves and get you've heard all these stories.
I mean, that's why I don't ever even really care about that. The only thing of the Oscars I'll ever really watch is the In Memoriam.
Oh,
that's really all. I'll watch that, and then occasionally if there's a couple good jabs from the host, I'll look up on YouTube.
Yeah, well,
but that's
Ricky Gervais is Golden Globe.
I mean, Ricky Gervais. I know he's not exactly as popular now due to his very unforgiving style of comedy, but I've always appreciated the fact that he doesn't hold back.
Right.
So I did like his Golden Globes.
Yeah, I did as well. All right. Well, I saw Logan Lucky, Adam Driver. So I was on an Adam Driver spree. I was like, Adam Driver is really good. It's Steven Soderbergh. Really funny film.
And Craig ties us back in
I've been wanting.
Craig, that's right. Have you seen Logan Lucky?
I would like to.
Yeah, because I remember it came out like a couple years ago, and I remember hearing good things about it, but I never got a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Then I rewatched Avengers Endgame, and
Still crying.
It was one of the first things. It was fun to rewatch, and I think it's still one of my favorites this year. But it's a fun movie to rewatch. And then I saw The Master with Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman. This came out a while
years ago.
Years ago, and it was really nice. Joaquin Phoenix, you can see hints of Joker in some of those scenes. He really he's a really good actor. Of course, he's gonna be kind of overrated after his award spree. But
well, speaking of those actors, kind of off topic, but Philip Seymour Hoffman, as the villain in Mission Impossible 3, has some of the best villain monologues.
Really nice. Philip Seymour Hoffman in this film is in The Master. He has a really good performance. He got nominated for it, but really good performances from Joaquin and Philip Seymour Hoffman. And a lot of the scenes with Philip and Joaquin were so tense and dramatic. I would akin it to the Joker and the Batman and Dark Knight.
Nice.
This is really kind of and I know he played Joker later on, but I was gonna say that it's really tense in the way that it was shot. Was really dramatic, and Philip Seymour Hoffman delivers a really I don't want to spoil anything, but he delivers his lines really really effectively, and it's fun to watch them play off each other. Nice. And then lastly, I saw an animated movie called I Lost My Body. It's one that's nominated for an animation Oscar.
Is it best feature or best short?
Feature. Okay. It's actually one of the obscure ones.
Is it who made it?
What studio?
It's a French studio. I can't talk.
Trinka?
Oh wait, I think I've heard of this one.
Is Trinka French or is Trinka like a different?
Well, isn't that a stop motion company?
Yeah, that's the stop motion.
Yeah, this one wasn't. Yeah, this one was. It's interestingly animated. It seems like it's. You're gonna learn about this in animation, but it's a limited animation.
Oh, okay.
Where it kind of cuts frames, but it's really.
So it's like a Spider-Verse type thing?
It's
Spider-Verse
limited
kind of did
animation.
that artificially, didn't it?
Limited animation is more referring to various animation techniques that are used to cheapen the process.
So I mean, Into the Spider-Verse can be looked at that, but in like its most extreme sense, it's literally just like frames, and like it's frames where it just cuts stuff. But in this case, it's more of an Into the Spider-Verse, where it just it seems like they cut like a lot of frames, but you can still see the motion. But it's not limited in where it's just still frames. But yeah, it's.
I get what you're saying now.
Yeah, it's a unique story. That's it for me. I think so.
Okay.
Sawyer,
so,
what movies have we not talked about? Have you watched?
So some of these I will be able to kind of lump together. What?
I forgot a movie.
Oh, go ahead.
The Conformist. Have any of you seen this movie?
I've never heard of it.
Okay, a very old. Sorry, it's Vittorio Storaro, very well-known cinematographer. Okay. You should check it out. Very good cinematography. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I hadn't listened to it yet. So I'll just start off. For over around Christmas, I got the DC Animation 10-year anniversary collection.
Okay.
And so I didn't watch through all of them, but I brought it with me here. But there's a couple I got through. I'm just gonna quickly mention.
Yeah.
I'll start off with where is it on the list here? Okay, Batman Under the Red Hood.
Haven't seen it.
Is great. It does the Jason Todd storyline really well.
Right.
In terms of its like art design, like it has that whole thing like Batman the Animated Series where the Gotham feels timeless. Like it doesn't feel like it's 2008 when this came out or 2009.
Is this canon with the new animated universe? Or not?
So all the ones that I watched are all individual. I didn't do any of the new DC animated movie universe.
Well, actually, one is, but I'll get to that when.
One of these is?
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. One of these is canon to another thing. That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Under the Red Hood was great. It's not my favorite Batman movie ever, but it's up there. I also really like the portrayal of Joker in this.
Okay.
I also didn't expect, slight spoilers, but not a huge deal, for Ra's al Ghul to pop up for one scene in the movie.
Nice.
That, and I think they got Jensen Ackles, I think was who they had voice Jason Todd.
Oh, yeah.
He was really good.
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah.
I can't remember, I think Bruce Greenwood was Batman in this one.
I don't know. So many people played that character that I don't know.
That was good. Just wrapping up the Batman ones real quick. Assault on Arkham is tied into the Arkhamverse. This one...
is it?
Yeah, it's Batman Assault on Arkham. Highly disappointing. This one, I would say...
I like how we all just got sort of hyped about it being an Arkham movie, and then you're like, yeah, it kind of sucks.
In terms of connection, that's part of what it is. I got excited about it being in the Arkhamverse too. Like, it's not a bad movie, but there's really no connections to Arkham other than it being the same voice cast. They do mention with Joker being in Arkham after, because I believe it takes place between Asylum and City. So they mentioned him being in there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's mostly, despite it being called Batman Assault on Arkham, it's mostly a Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah.
Like, Batman's only in a couple scenes.
Yeah.
Like, it's really a Suicide Squad movie, and
they just put Batman on it to get the kids or something like that.
That, and this movie has, like, I know it's PG-13, but I thought it was mostly for violence. There's a lot of other content in this movie that I was not expecting for a DC animated movie.
We'll get that further on too.
Yeah, like
the DC animated movies.
Deadshot, and there's some kind of weird relationship between Deadshot and Harley Quinn.
Oh, weird.
That, and then Killer Croc and Killer Frost. I was like, what? Like, I had never seen that.
Like the relationship.
No, like a relationship.
Yeah.
I was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm looking at these stills. It looks interesting.
Also, it's got an interesting animation style, and it's not bad. Just don't go in expecting like, oh, it's gonna be tied into the Arkham games. If you ignore the title and just go in for what is essentially just a good Suicide Squad movie, that's what you'll get.
Okay.
Then I watched Batman Year One. It's that one is also being called Batman is much more of a Jim Gordon movie than it is a Batman movie.
Oh, cool!
Batman's still in it a good chunk, but it's in terms of narrative center, it's seen through the eyes of Jim Gordon. It's worth checking out. It's basically Batman in his first year as Batman. Yeah. He's not perfect yet. He still gets a couple like bullet holes and scrapes here and there. He's still not aligned with the Gotham PD yet. It's kind of him figuring out how to be Batman, and it's an interesting watch. I will say the only thing I didn't really like about that one was their character design for Selena Kyle was a little weird. Like, I couldn't quite tell. Like, she doesn't seem like Selena Kyle as much. At least I'm also judging based off of the thousands of other portrayals that there are. So at least this portrayal was it was so jarring because she's basically got like a buzz cut and everything, and it was weird to get used to it. But the design of Gotham, I keep going back to that they designed Gotham great. I'm saving my favorite one for last. And then I watched All-Star Superman. That one, it's basically Superman in his last days. Like he's saved some got like some astronauts or something and got hit with a ton of solar radiation.
Oh,
and so it's basically Superman is getting, in his last days, he's getting incredibly powerful, more powerful than he's ever been.
Oh, wow.
But essentially he's just going to burn out after
Oh.
that.
I see.
And so it's essentially
It's kind of wild.
the last year in the life of Superman. And so it's really more of like a year in the life, essentially.
Oh, wow.
It covers like his time, like his relationship with Lois Lane, his relationship with Lex Luthor, some of the other villains.
That's
It's really just a neat like I guess dive into Superman as a character.
Yeah.
Like there's some action in it, but it's really more about like who is Superman at the core and him just accepting who Superman is, I guess.
Curiosity killed the cat. Who plays Superman? Is it Nolan North?
I don't remember. It might have been Nolan North. Surprisingly, this movie actually didn't have a ton of dialogue, at least in my opinion.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Also, Lois Lane was not the best Lois Lane, but I'm also coming off of like a ton of other portrayals.
James Denton.
James Denton was
Interesting.
Superman. Yeah. I think he's done the voice in a lot of other Superman stuff.
Yeah.
I just my standard for voice acting in DC movies is the Young Justice cast, and so if you don't like meet that standard, then you might as well just not exist. In my opinion.
My favorite of the DC animated ones that I've watched so far, actually no, I have 2 left. I guess these are tied for my favorite.
Okay.
First one is Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox.
Oh,
that one's
yeah.
tied in.
That's a very, very good movie.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I will say the art style bugs me out a little
It
bit.
is a bit
It took some getting used to.
It's more because the movie is very clearly meant to be like the art style is really, really good for Flash, but only Flash.
Yeah,
Like Superman's face is whacked out. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's
Well, actually, what's
Yeah,
interesting,
it's
I think, I had a similar thought
yeah.
where I felt like anybody who was underneath a costume looked great, but anybody that had no costume on and had their
yeah.
actual human face was not
I thought
that very.
I think it did a really good job. I've always liked Flash, so it's good to see a movie focused on him because.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the DC animated movies,
It's just Batman
like
and
it's
Superman.
mostly Batman and Superman.
Oh,
so
yeah.
to see a movie that was mostly, even though it's called Justice League, it's a
Right.
Flash movie,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
That and their alternate, like Earth 2 or whatever Earth this is, Batman as Thomas Wayne was really neat.
Yeah.
That's just the Flashpoint.
Yeah, the Flashpoint Batman was interesting.
The whole idea of like Aquaman and Wonder Woman at war with each other.
That was cool.
That is such a great idea. I wish we had like an
I will say-
inner movie on just that area.
I will say there's one thing that kind of bugs me, and it kind of goes back to your PG-13 thing. Spoilers and skip forward for graphic descriptions of things. There's literally a scene where I think it's Aquaman's wife. No. Somebody's spouse or something. Murders. I think it's that Aquaman is cheating on his wife with
Wonder Woman.
with Wonder Woman,
Yes.
and then is it that Aquaman's wife? No, Wonder Woman murders Aquaman's wife, right? And there's literally just a scene where a shot where Aquaman or Wonder Woman holds up Aquaman's wife's decapitated head.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wait a minute, you're allowed to show that in this movie?
And the other one that surprised me in being a PG-13 movie, this is another spoiler, but when Thomas Wayne Batman, I believe he shoots Reverse Flash in the head, and you see him through the hole in his head. I was like,
you see like brain stuff.
I really
too.
think people are
It's
just
so
like, this
weird.
movie's animated. It should be good for kids.
Yeah.
Which, complete side note, that is an argument that I absolutely hate when people pull that off. It's like, it's an animated movie for kids. Like, no. And that goes even more to the next movie I'm going to mention, because this kind of ties in with it too, is Batman The Dark Knight Returns. I watched the deluxe edition, which puts part 1 and part 2 together.
Apparently this one is like super faithful to the comic.
It's in terms of like even animation style, it looks like the comic. Like Batman's big and bulky. It was cool to see really a aging Batman. Like I know the Ben Affleck one was like, oh, he's an older Batman. Like this one's like 70 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That was neat. I liked that they had made it in the 80s. It was kind of cool.
I like Robin's.
Carrie Kelly's Robin.
Yeah.
She was cool, and I really liked the cinematography. I guess it's not really cinematography, but the way it looked when Batman fought whatever that weird gang leader was at the end of part 1.
I haven't seen it.
Unfortunately,
there's a fight between Batman and this gang leader in the mud, and it's like a truly Batman outwinning his opponent moment.
Nice.
Yeah.
I recommend this one. Like if you're a fan of the Dark Knight trilogy, and as well as just any modern Batman, I would say pick up the deluxe edition of this that merges part 1 and 2 together.
Okay.
It's 2.5 hours for the two parts merged together, but it is very faithful, and it's a truly Batman story.
Okay.
Plus, it's kind of a semi-alternate universe thing, so you don't really have any homework.
Right.
They kind of mention everything you need to know. But yeah, those I watched. Another quick one, briefly I mentioned, is the Apollo 11 documentary. It was good. I am amazed that they were able to clean up all that footage as well as they did.
Mm-hmm.
But it could have done with some voiceover, I think, to tie it all together.
Oh, that's another movie I saw. Sorry, First Man.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Yeah, I saw.
Man, this one, it could have used a little bit of voiceover or dialogue or something, because it's really, the entire movie is remastered footage in chronological order.
Yeah, I remember that got a nomination for a documentary.
In terms of documentary, they do an amazing job of showing the actual mission, condensed down to 90 minutes, even though it was 3 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I could have gone for a little bit of voiceover to explain, okay, who is this, what's their job, where are we in the mission.
Yeah. I'm thinking of things in terms of nominations just because the Oscars are nearby. Everything's nominations for me.
Next one, I watched True Lies. That film, it's good. It's not my favorite James Cameron film. It's James Cameron, directed by him, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis.
I'm thinking of a different movie.
Yeah. You're thinking of the show True Detective, or?
No. I was thinking of.
Okay.
I liked the film. It's there's obviously some stuff in it that is a little dated in terms of it's kind of, there's some stuff that is a little messed up that they don't really even address the fact that it's a little messed up. Specifically, the way that Jamie Lee Curtis's character is treated in this film is not
questionable.
It's questionable, to say the least.
It's questionable without explanation.
Yeah, watching it from a modern perspective, I'm like there's some things that Arnold's character does where they maybe make one or two joke references to it being a little hypocritical, but the rest of the movie doesn't really address the fact that this is messed up what he's doing, and they never address it as bad. And at the end of the movie, everything's just all spoilers, but it's a 90s action movie.
Right.
It's all it's all back to normal. It's there's some stuff you did that I don't know.
It's not.
Yeah, but it's if you watch it as it's just a dumb 90s action movie, you'll have some fun. I did read some articles about how it hasn't aged well. Really, when its portrayal of Jamie Lee Curtis's character was not great. They do have generic Islamic terrorists in this movie, but they're.
But that's par for the course.
At least from watching this film, it wasn't as egregious as something I don't even know an example, like an early James Bond film. It wasn't anything like that.
Yeah.
It was
the Golden Gun or whatever it was.
No, they did have some. I will say most of the villains are treated more slapstick like. There's a scene where the lead terrorist guy jumps onto a jet and is he starts to fall, but his the sling for his gun gets caught on a missile, and so he's just hanging there. That. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But if you just look at it as it's a dumb Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah.
You'll have a good time just knowing that some, as they say on the Disney Plus disclaimer thing, cultural depictions have not been as long as you go in knowing that things are not as great, you'll have a good time.
Yeah. Okay. I was just say I looked up James Cameron and Rotten Tomatoes, and I love. Looking up his filmography, it says Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 2021, 2023, 2025. It's just all lined up.
I will say it is weird, speaking of that, I don't want to go too much into it, but seeing his portrayal of female characters in Aliens and Terminator 1 and 2, and then to watch True Lies, it's what happened in those?
90s were a crazy time.
Yeah.
Like,
That's weird.
And I watched Escape from New York and Escape from L.A. back to back.
Okay.
Pretty much, well, I guess it was one day after. Now, this might seem like blasphemy to film fans. I think L.A. was actually a better time than New York.
So wait, you should
I have
talk
no
to
thoughts.
Shasky about that.
Okay, now New York is clearly a better made movie.
Okay.
But I think L.A. had better characterization for the character Snake Plissken, who, fun fact, Solid Snake was partially based on. That's my Metal Gear reference.
There it is. First one of 2020. There we go.
It's I think L.A. No, the CGI in L.A. is probably the worst I've ever seen.
Nice.
Like it is like close to Birdemic level bad.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, like it
Birdemic
is
not good.
There's literally a scene where Peter Fonda and Kurt Russell surfboard on a CGI wave and jump onto Steve Buscemi's Corvette.
Oh, Steve.
That's a scene in this movie.
Yikes. Wait, when did Escape from LA come out?
Escape from LA came out in '95.
Okay,
I think.
so that was after the Escape from New York. Oh my god, I just saw a screenshot.
The CGI is horrible. I will say the ending of LA is great. Like it is a great ending.
Is it greatly bad or
no? It's great. Like it's just it clearly fits that character.
Okay.
I think it's their political satire in these two movies is very obvious, especially when you watch the second one.
Okay.
But like if you just go in for like a dumb action movie, I like dumb action movies if you couldn't tell.
Nice.
So there's plenty of that. Speaking of dumb action movies, I watched Soldier.
Really?
There's another Kurt Russell film. Have any of you guys heard of it?
I
No.
have
Yeah.
not. No.
So if you're technically going through Easter eggs and fan theories, technically it's in the same universe as Blade Runner.
Oh.
That is
Because
wait a second.
they mention the Battle of Tannhauser Gate that is also mentioned in the original Blade Runner. And you can also see like a crashed out spinner from the original Blade Runner in like the wreckage on one of the planets.
Oh.
So
That's-
if you're going through like fan theories and Easter eggs, technically it's also a Blade Runner sequel, air quotes.
Oh god, that's a movie that's rated 12%.
Okay, 12% is too harsh.
Okay.
I will say, after having watched this film, I looked it up. Like I will say, Kurt Russell's performance in it actually kind of surprised me.
Huh.
Like he's basically the point is in the future. There's like these. It's almost kind of like a Halo type thing,
Yeah.
where these soldiers are bred from birth to be these like cold-blooded, like only on the mission killers.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
And eventually, once they get these new, like, genetically modified soldiers, the old guys are kind of cast out.
Oh.
And Kurt Russell's character was thought of killed, and they just dumped the bodies on some, like, Mad Max style planet, which is basically like a desert with wreckage everywhere.
This looks like a film. It's 1999. It just looks like a film that would come out like in the early 2000s.
Oh, yeah. It is very early 2000s.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Mad Max meets Riddick. I guess is kind of a good way of describing it.
I see that. Yeah, I definitely see that. Yeah.
It's and I think I guess meets a little bit of Halo. And then essentially the whole story is him having all this like military indoctrination in him, trying to live within a community of these scavengers on this planet.
Scoundrels.
It's really interesting to see like Kurt Russell doesn't have much dialogue, and it's interesting to see him just in his facial expressions, like feel something, but he doesn't know how to express it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not 12% bad. I'd give it probably a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay.
It's a fun time. Definitely early 2000s level quality.
Yeah.
But there's also another like generic like suit up, I'm gonna take out all the bad guys shots at the end. Then there's that one, and I think the only other movie that I watched over the break that I want to mention, because we already talked about Uncut Gems, was I wanted to mention that I watched A Quiet Place.
Okay, wait, you've seen A Quiet Place.
I have
not.
Oh my god.
But I plan to.
Okay, I won't spoil anything.
Okay.
Then I'm sure you probably heard the obvious part by now.
Nope.
Oh, I won't say anything.
I am actually very.
Well, you should watch it because we should go see it all together.
Oh, yeah.
The second one comes out in March.
Well, when we saw one of you two I saw a movie with, and they showed part 2. And I didn't even look at it. I was like,
well, that's good, 'cause if you watch the trailer, then the first one would be completely spoiled.
Right.
Yeah, it would be.
So the first one. Oh, did you have anything?
No, I was gonna say I'm excited. I saw the trailer and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by the second one too.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where they take it because, of course,
So I think in the first one, I really like in terms of like plot setup. It's not the most original plot. Like, if you've seen things like this before, it's the execution of this film that is really interesting. That it's mostly almost like a dialogue-less film. Like there's really only a couple scenes with dialogue.
It's really a film that's whose premise is what really intrigues you about it. So where you can't talk.
There's a scene that really exemplifies it that I want to mention, but there's a very slight spoiler in it. You guys,
I don't care.
It's not even really a plot. It's just a moment that like it leads to a character being in a certain state.
Okay.
Basically, there's a scene where Emily Blunt's character, when she's hiding from some of these creatures, she's barefoot. They don't wear shoes because the shoes will create sound, so they all walk around barefoot. And she accidentally steps on this nail, but she can't scream because the monsters will hear her. Her having to try and muffle her screams while she's up. I can't mention the other part because that's a spoiler. But there's something else going on at the same time, and it's just her having all this stuff happen to her, but she can't make any noise. Yeah. And it is, and don't worry, that's just her stepping on.
No. I'm just imagining.
It's excruciating to watch, and it's this kind of scene really builds up to this climax that's amazing to watch, and
the sound is just so well done.
Sound design really well done, and also John Krasinski. I mean, everybody. Good. John Krasinski is really good. Emily Blunt, you just mentioned, but she's of course good in everything.
Honestly, she was the standout of the movie.
She really was. John Krasinski. I was gonna say
his directorial debut. Right?
Yeah, it was his directorial. Yeah, and then
the daughter.
Yeah, the daughter was
Millicent Simmons, I believe, is her name.
Yeah, who was a character, who was a person who's the character is deaf, but in real life she's also deaf. So that was interesting.
Yeah, and she does a really good job in this film. Especially at the ending. She does a really good job.
That kid. I don't know his name. I forget his name, but he's in Honey Boy, and he does in Honey Boy he's really good. In this movie, he's good. There was I don't want to spoil this, but I almost cried. I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's a very emotional film that like going in, you're like, if you just know anything about the basic plot, it sounds generic because it's something you've definitely seen before. Mm-hmm. It's the way they execute this film and the characters involved that really makes it stand out.
Yeah. And execution is like 90% of movies.
And a very, very questionable ending.
And a lot of like the questions, like there's a lot of like people who think there are plot holes. If you really look close enough, there are answers to most of the plot holes that you would like. It's like, where'd they get all that sand? It's established that they're like right by the stage. Like they answer a lot if you really look close. Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing what John Krasinski does as well. And when we go into TV, I will have more John Krasinski to mention.
Okay.
Last but not least.
I have one movie out of all of these that I saw over break that I want to mention here. Mm-hmm. I will say I rewatched Attack the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
Attack the Clones or Attack of the Clones?
Wait,
I think I said Attack of the Clones.
It sounded like you said Attack the Clones. So is this a cross between Attack the Block and Attack of the Clones? I would watch that immediately. It's got John Boyega.
That makes perfect sense.
It's all connected.
I
rewatched those. I won't say what I thought about them on my rewatch, but
we gotta save that for next week.
Yes. I think the only movie that I've seen. I rewatched Big Hero 6. I don't have much to say about it.
I rewatched it too. Loved it.
I was actually gonna rewatch it, but I ended up watching
it. My favorite movie of all time, so I don't think I have much to say about it.
Well, I think it's one of upon rewatching it, I think it's one of the most underrated.
Yes.
The most underrated Disney animated film.
Oh, it's really
correct.
It's so good.
Everybody talks about Inside Out. Inside Out does deserve.
Oh yeah, Inside Out is my favorite film. But in terms of like the unrated, underrated.
It did have tough competition because it came out between Frozen 2 and Zootopia. Oh, yeah. But I think Big Hero 6 blows both away.
I was 14 when that movie came out.
That's weird.
Well, here's the thing.
That was in 9th grade.
When I had seen it, I liked it. But like going around and then as I'm older and really watching that film, I was like moved to tears within the first few minutes.
Oh yeah,
that movie is so. Every time I watch it, it's so special to me, and I like discover why I love it again every time I watch it. And I think
it's a cross between that and Spider-Verse for the best Marvel animated movie.
I can agree with you, but it's a very clear answer for me.
It's not a clear answer.
People
I think
don't really know
Spider-Man's
this, but
better.
Big Hero 6 is based on a Marvel comic.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean Stan Lee is cameos at the end.
Yeah. It's great. But
TV. Or did you have another movie?
I did have another. I did have a 2019 movie that I watched that was not mentioned here. I think we mentioned it briefly, but Frozen 2.
Yeah.
I saw it with Caleb.
Good movie.
My thoughts on it are basically that I like the actual story of this movie more than I like the original. But I think the script for this movie was really bad until it got to the directors. And then like they were like, well, we got to work with this, so we'll like change up some stuff. Do you guys care about spoilers?
No.
There's a great 80s anthem music
God.
video.
It's a great ballad. It's so good. It's with Kristoff.
And he's singing about Anna. And it's basically just like a music video in Frozen.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's called Lost in the Woods.
Oh,
it's so good.
Yeah, so it's like an 80s style.
Yeah, well, Weezer does the actual Weezer does the song during the soundtrack. I don't think it's during the Kristoff's song, but I think it's like soundtrack. I think it's in the credits or something.
So weird,
but it's really good.
Weezer for that movie. It's like, what band do the kids love? Weezer.
I think it was just more on like, what kind of band can we use that? Because Weezer did a cover of Toto's Africa a couple years ago, so I think that them using that just made sense. But
finding a band that's kid friendly enough to do this,
right?
But I don't have much else that I think about it. Like I think it had a stronger, like the point of it was stronger, but it was so heavy-handed, like more so than the original. Like this movie clearly had an agenda, and it stuck to that agenda, and didn't like really let go. Like. Even some of the imagery with the quote unquote villains versus the good guys or whatever. It's just like it's so clearly meant to get you to think and feel a certain way, and like it's clearly meant to like draw your attention to how similar this is to our reality. Right. That it just kind of it took me out of it a little bit. But some of the original stuff that they do is all really cool. The animation's spectacular, and Olaf carried that movie.
C-3PO and
I love the movie. But I guess my real complaint about the movie is its lack of now.
I think we
we always get a Disney villain in an animated movie,
right?
And I give credit to this film for not doing that, not doing a Disney villain. But there was
There's kind of a hint of a Disney villain in this movie, but they just they put it into Frozen Zero and Frozen Zero doesn't exist, so we're just never getting that villain.
The movie lacks an antagonist,
and such lacks focus,
and it lacks in the conflict.
Okay.
There's actually there's a moment with Anna heading towards her objective.
Right.
At the end of the film, where everything becomes clear.
Right.
But it's done so easily, and it's over.
And there's no like villain. There's no obstacle to her doing that.
Okay. So it's not necessarily an antagonist. It's an obstacle.
The villain is a lack of clarity in this movie, and once everything becomes clear, it is a relatively easy race to the goal.
Right.
So So this is their. I mean, this is another sequel that they've made.
Mm-hmm.
A movie that the next movie that I think of off the top of my head that's original is Onward. Was this necessary? Was this necessary?
I think it's a worthy sequel.
Yeah, I think it deserves its production.
Okay.
Right.
I think you know, if anybody thought we weren't getting a Frozen 2 after the first movie, they were dead wrong from the start.
Right. I mean,
and I think that this movie really succeeded in finding its own image. I think it's not it plays a little bit on some of the themes of the first one, especially with Elsa's
but it tries
arc.
its own thing.
But it does it treads its own path, and I think
Right.
after the direction that this movie took, I would not be annoyed if the same team went and made a third movie.
I agree.
I don't know what you would do with a third movie, because I just don't know.
Yeah, especially where things end up.
I mean, it made money, so I'm assuming it made money at least.
Yeah, it made some good money.
I will say it's interesting. This movie doesn't seem to have had as much of a cultural presence as the
There's
first one.
not that.
Sure.
There's one. Elsa does have an anthem in this movie, but I think it's not as I don't want to say it's not as effective as Let It Go, because I think that's unfair to this thing. I think it's just because Let It Go was such a moment in history that nothing is ever going to replicate what Let It Go did, and so I think because of that it got just less attention.
Well,
But I think it's that's not a comment on the quality. That's just
and
a
it's still
comment
made
on
back its budget, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Since we're on that topic of the soundtrack, I will say, definitely "Let It Go" is the song. Like that's iconic. You know.
You like I said, you can't recreate "Let It Go."
Right.
It's impossible.
I will say though, the soundtrack for this movie is better than the first one. That is my personal opinion. I actually like all the songs.
I think I like all of the songs in context. I think as individual songs, I think I like the original more. But I think as like a musical tied in with the story, I think I like most of the songs in Frozen 2.
Yeah.
Like on
"Show Yourself" is definitely something in the context of the movie that it's so good in the movie, but it's not like "Let It Go." That's the song that we were more referring to.
Yeah.
"Into the Unknown" is a really great song. That was a popular one.
That's a great song. Yeah. That's the one that people are going to be talking about. I think is like if it just to bring it up. If the story of Frozen 2 makes its way into a Kingdom Hearts game, that's the song that's going to be replicated in that game.
Yep.
Speaking of Kingdom Hearts, is that our segue into video games? Or
did you have something else you wanted to say about the Frozen 2
Nope,
soundtrack?
that's
okay.